Hey guys, welcome to this edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. And my guest today have deep roots in their community and wholeheartedly believe in giving back. This is a husband and wife team that are proud owners of the first Black cannabis dispensary in the Berkshires. She's a chiropractor, a teacher, and a mother. He's a local businessman, community advocate, and father. Heidi and Ari Zorn, welcome to Let's Be Blunt with Montel.
Thanks for having us. Thank you, Montel. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you
Absolutely.
very much, sir.
Thanks for being a part of the show. Look, before we get into, start digging deep, tell me a little bit about your backgrounds. And are you originally both from the Berkshires?
Or you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I was actually born in Tacoma, adopted out in Tacoma, lived in Seattle for a little bit. I'm adopted to a white Jewish family, moved our way out from Seattle to Hamden and New Haven, Connecticut. Made my way out to Boston and then ended up in the Berkshires.
Wow, that's an interesting background. And how about you?
I am an Air Force brat, actually. I thank you for your service, Montel.
Thank you for your service too. Family member.
I grew up in Heidelberg, Germany. My dad was in the Air Force with 7th Weather Squadron, so I spent my time overseas in the 80s and came over to the United States in 89 for college.
Wow. Now, what kind of careers were you both in before you decided to pursue a cannabis dispensary license and a cannabis career?
Well, we worked close together anyway. I'm a chiropractor and Ari was a chef, but turned personal trainer, and we worked on the same property in different buildings for the last almost 20 years. Myself as a chiropractor and him as a personal trainer.
Okay. And I mean, how did you meet? I mean, you met clearly walking past each other. You saw each other and bingo, bango, stars burst. What happened?
So we're both fitness nuts. I especially am. I've been a heavy lifter my whole life. But we actually met at a gym. She was working at a gym and I just kept harassing her.
Actually, we were comparing how red our eyes were because we were each doing about 60 to 80 hours of work during the week and still going to the gym. And so we were comparing that. So we were always hardworking individuals, and we just kind of hit it off from the day one at the gym.
And had you been cannabis enthusiasts before, or when did that start for each one of you?
You like me to go? Well,
you go first.
I used the product when I was young, when I was in high school, quite honestly, to help me deal with certain issues in this world. And I did stop for a long period of my time of life especially when I had kids. But it was actually my mother, when Mass legalized it, has said, "You are perfect for this." It just felt like the next progression in business for us.
Okay.
That's how we came about it.
And how do you have you?
Same thing. I was just a recreational user in high school and college. And then when I had kids, I didn't use. I mean, it wasn't legal, right? So not until this opportunity kind of surfaced in 2019 that we got back into the industry and the thought of opening up our own shop. And then, of course, had to get back into what kind of product was on the market, what was happening. So that's when we got back into the cannabis world.
And what was the application process like in Massachusetts?
I say it's like childbirth. It was very long and arduous during it. Times of excitement. Every time you made a little step, like you got your host community agreement, or you found the spot and you signed the lease. There were all these excited periods of time. But it was over 3 years during COVID, actually. And now that we went through it, it's like looking back on childbirth and saying, it wasn't so bad. Maybe I'll do that again. But, but maybe not.
And you were a little unique in the way that you approached it. You guys didn't go out and try to raise seed money and capital from lots of friends. You did a crowdfunding.
That's
thing.
right.
Is that right?
Yeah. We had an angel investor, a friend of mine, who started us off on the right foot. And then from there, I just had this idea. I was walking in the woods one day and I had this idea. What if I got 100 of my local people to invest $1,000? I would have $100,000. How do I do that? And I just put that out into the universe. And as it came around, there was this crowdfund opportunity that appeared. And we decided to go for it and do it. And within 8 months, we raised about $100,000 from almost about 100 individuals. So
That's
yeah.
great. That's great.
I,
And how, go ahead.
I gotta say, like, kudos to Heidi. Like, that was absolutely like brilliant. We have our community behind us, and it means a lot.
Absolutely. You had basically you had 100 potential clients when you
That's
opened the
exactly
doors,
right.
right?
And local. So when they drove by, and if there was an issue of a lot of cars, or if there was a line, which was this concern, because Theory was the first shop to open up in our town, and there were lines down the street, and they were parking in the wrong parking area, and so people in our little community were concerned that what if that happens here? What if there's a line? What if there's a bottleneck? And I wanted to say, well, half of those people are investors, so hopefully they're driving by going, yeah, there's a line, let's go. That's my shop.
Sure, sure. And how has the community received you
They're
guys?
fantastic. I mean, our investors, they're coming through the doors. They're sending their friends through the doors. So yeah, they're very supportive of us.
Very, yeah.
And you, Heidi, I guess, have been responsible for decor and setting up what your shop looks like. Tell me a little bit about it. It's called Divine Cannabis,
Yes.
right? And it's the only dispensary in your part of the Berkshires?
In our little town, which is a very small town, but we're right next to New York and right next to Connecticut. We're about 4 miles from each one of those borders, so we bring in people from those sides. And the inspiration for the interior of the shop came from, to be blunt, smoking some weed and walking in the forest during COVID and spending some time out there and just envisioning what a beautiful space it could be, and how do I bring this beautiful outdoor Berkshire environment into this space, and how can I get other people to feel what I feel in the woods when they walk into our shop. I always said that our shop was going to be different because of the experience when you walk through the doors, and I believe that to be true. That's what people keep saying as they come through the door. They say the vibe is just very different, and the way it's set up and the way that they're welcome in the space, they feel very safe to come in and just have conversations about cannabis, about CBD, about things that they're curious about that was scary to talk about for a while.
Yeah, we really found a way to create the environment that made everyone feel safe, feel comfortable. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. It's been amazing. A part of this I didn't see coming was people actually walking through our shop going, oh my God, this place is beautiful. And then feeling comfortable enough to share their story and their traumas in life. And I found that to be the most incredible benefit of all of this.
Absolutely. And your approach is not necessarily unique, but it is a little different, I will say, than most of the dispensaries that I've gone into around the country, is that you do a lot of making sure that not your employees are educated enough to be able to give education and empowerment back to the community.
Absolutely.
Correct?
That's very key to what we do. There's a big community of people that are interested in cannabis and interested in hemp and CBD, but don't really understand. And they're looking for a place to really feel like somebody's hearing them, somebody's understanding, and someone's going to give them some, good advice to try the product and how to get into it. And I feel like we have a very tiny crew. There are only 6 employees that we have, and then myself and Ari and my sister, and everybody in our store knows the product, and we spend a lot of time getting to know the product and getting to know the companies behind the product.
You're not completely vertical, right? You're just a dispensary. Do you have a grow and a processing, or do you bring in products that you from other parties and you actually put them on shelves?
We are not a grow and we are not a manufacturer. We are only a retail dispensary. And what that allows us to do is really find the most amazing products. I don't have to push my own product. I can find really great products, freshly baked with Jenny and Phil. Love those guys. We've got Bud House. We've got several small companies that we love to support. They're small like us. And we are forming real relationships with these people. And really, we're all pioneers in this industry. And it's very exciting to really showcase these other individuals that are out there through our store and our relationship with our staff and our community and those people that we want to be partners with.
Yeah, you talk about Phil and Jenny. I want 100% disclosure that my products are in Massachusetts, and they are my contract manufacturers. So we're right now about 40 dispensaries in the state, and we're trying to continue to grow. But I've really enjoyed the relationship I've had with them because they are, a veteran-owned company, a minority veteran-owned company, a wounded veteran-owned company. So, I think that that's what people should be doing is supporting a lot of them in this
Absolutely.
industry. What have been some of your challenges in opening this facility?
From my point, when we started this, we were both still working full time. Once again, we had to be very crafty about where the money came from. It was definitely it was a grind. To me, that was the biggest obstacle. COVID played its part as well. Delaying us from getting open at times, from a lack of, a certain item for a building material or someone doing the driveway. But to me, that was the biggest obstacle at first through most of this.
I would agree. It was having three,
Okay.
teenagers at home during COVID, the two of us still working in our professions, still making a living, and creating this whole other entity out there, and staying positive on it and not getting down on it, and coming up with new ideas and new ways of doing it. It was as exciting as it was difficult, the times. But we stuck it out. And we did it, and we're here, and we're very excited.
Very.
And not to cast aspersions, because every state has, believe me, I've been dealing with issues in almost every state across the country that has legalized some sort of cannabis protocol. I mean, we're getting ready to go into Georgia. I've got some connections, and I'm doing some things in New Jersey. About to also go into Illinois, and every state seems to be unique in what their impediments are to actually launching a good dispensary. What have been some of the issues that you found in Massachusetts, and what could the Mass government do better? I mean, I got a long list, but what do you think they could do better?
Like me to go?
Go
I'll
ahead.
go on that. So the first thing is how they classify social equity of with that program of a Black individual having to have a cannabis related offense. To me,
Is it just for Black individuals or just for the minority, women and
yes,
minority versus?
yeah. It
Yes.
to me was like a slap in the face, as if I'm Black and suffered all the injustices of being Black in this country. I was not fed a silver spoon yet. I had to fight. I had to fight to even get minority status. Practically had to prove that I was Black, which I found really interesting. Kind of felt like insult on top of injury, although they intended something to be, to be the opposite. I personally feel like Divine is a role model for what the CCC and Mass intended to happen.
Got it. Got it. And what else do you think they could do to improve? I mean, I've found some difficulty in packaging and a lot of those things, and that's endemic across the entire
That's
country.
Yeah.
true.
Well, once again, the banking, that's a
Yeah.
massive deal.
Banking.
Yeah, banking.
I mean, our ATMs, our debits were shut down in mass for a while. Finding the right system, all of a sudden, we're all cash, which didn't make us feel comfortable. But the whole banking setup, the whole lack of funds going to people that aren't wealthy. I mean,
Right.
those are the
You
biggest
do feel like
obstacles.
a legal criminal in this industry, with trying to get banking and things like that. Also funding.
And that's
What's
still going
that?
on today. That's still going on today. Or have you been able to find a bank that'll at least
We
accept
do.
your
We have a
deposit?
bank. We were rejected by one bank saying that they didn't think our deposits were going to be big enough, so they rejected us. So, but that's okay. We do have a bank that we're working with, and it's working out. It's working out so far.
And do you intend to pursue any of the other licenses that are becoming available in Massachusetts? I know that there's going to be some consumption licenses given out
I
soon,
mean, we
right?
have our eyes open. We got our ears open. We don't have anything that we would talk about at this moment.
we do have the option, but I don't know if we're going to follow through on it. But in Mass, we can have two more retail licenses, 3 cultivation. But we're waiting to see how it falls, how it plays out. Not going to force anything. We also see what's happening in the industry right now, where all these people, these cultivators, are basically throwing product at us and dropping their
Yeah,
prices.
I guess
Kind of makes us happy that we didn't step into cultivation.
I would say that's going back to your previous question. A problem in the industry is that there aren't any limitations on how many licenses they're going to allow, and they just keep them coming. And I don't know what the right answer for that is, but it's going to be a problem for some people.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's good that they are allowing for more licenses, but then they are saturating a marketplace, and that saturation produces too much product that brings the price down. But then on top of the price going down, you
Right.
still got to pay the taxes. And so
Right.
it's like a vicious circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're seeing it's going to shake out in the next couple of years, I think, and see what happens. See where things land. But we feel like we're positioned in a good spot right now, physically, location, and how we've handled ourselves this first year. It's really positive going into our second year.
And so your idea is not to try to expand too quickly, just like ride this out.
Yeah,
and see
too
where it
big,
goes,
too
right?
fast. That's not where I want to go.
Yeah,
Not in this
absolutely.
industry at this point in time.
Well, as we're having a conversation about the industry, though, let's talk a little bit more about this, because now you have made a concerted effort to try to expand on educational opportunities. As a matter of fact, you have a scholarship
That's right.
program of some sort, right?
Yeah,
Why don't you tell me a
it's
little
actually named after our angel investor, Judith Ugolo Black, and we have funds available. So again, in one of our, it's Pittsfield is a disproportionately impacted community. That's the the city north of us a little bit, and that's where BCC, Berkshire Community College, is located. And so at BCC, we have a scholarship for at least one individual for their certificate program. So they run a cannabis certificate program. So we've earmarked our funds.
And what is that cannabis certificate program? They go in and get
That's right.
education on
That's
cannabis.
right.
Explain that.
Yeah, and it's a year-long program, several different, botany class, business management class, and then they have internships for a couple of weeks at the end. So it's an idea to get people into the industry and get some understanding of the industry before they get in. And so we thought that would be a nice way to help someone from an impacted community get through a certificate program. So we offer a scholarship for that. This first year we'll start with one scholarship, and as we get bigger, we hope to add to that, and we'll see 2, 3. My goal would be 4 scholarships in a school year, to be honest.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I've been talking about this for quite a long time, and I think that that's one of the disservices that this industry does to itself, is that we don't spend as much time educating, and not only our employees but also
Yes.
the consumer. Because there's a lot of information out there that continues to just grow on a daily basis. There's more and more and more and more and more information, and it seems like we don't pass that on to the consumer enough to make them understand that there is options available to them
Right.
at dispensaries. And I know that the state law does hinder it some, but at the same time, we as an industry don't take advantage of the opportunities that we are allowed to do.
Well, and I think there's so many gray areas. It's especially, speaking from us, what you can do, what you can't do, what's legal to do, what's not legal to do. Can you advertise? You can't, give discounts. Why you couldn't give a veteran a discount, I really don't understand. It seems,
Right. Yeah.
illogical and illegal to me, but, no discounts in Massachusetts at this time. So, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's just, again, almost every state has some strange draconian law like that stops from advertising and stops
Yeah.
from promoting. I'm dealing in a state right now that won't even allow you to have a website. I mean, what are we, crazy? I mean, how can people
Right,
find out
right.
information, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
And if people wanted to find out more information from you about you, where would they go?
DivineBerkshires.com.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about what you offer at divineberkshires.com, since you can talk about it here and we're doing it in an educational way. Do you offer everything from tinctures to smokables to dabbles to
Yeah, we've got
what do
RSO
you offer?
oil, we've got distillate, we've got gummies, we've got chocolates, we've got tinctures, we've got drinks, we've got drink enhancers. We have pure CBD products, no THC. We've got low CBD, high THC. We've got high THC, no CBD. We've got
Yeah,
patches.
we got it all.
Oral sprays. Any way you want to work it, we've found some company that's got it, and it's really quite exciting.
Yeah, good array of delivery
Absolutely.
systems.
Yeah, sugar-free, vegan.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it. And if you had the crystal ball and think about the industry, again, you're looking forward as a person who's trying to expand possibly. Let's think about, what do you think the industry is going to look like in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? What do you
I
think?
think it's going to get pretty saturated with product. I think product's going to drop. I think a bunch of stores are going to close. I think a bunch of cultivators are going to close. Manufacturers might go out. It's going to, and then hopefully, so here's the big discussion, being federally legal. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Who's getting,
Oh, well, I mean, I think that idea about federal legal, I don't think we can even consider that
which
for
would
about
be
another
okay,
5
because
years.
who's going to come in when it's federally legal? These big companies, right? Coca-Cola, and they're going to take away these small companies and these, because they can do things at a massive scale. They know production. They can filter that through in a half a second. But I'm hoping that we can create community right here, right now, with these companies that are, like us, small companies, work hard companies, and good product, educating our staff, educating our consumers so they come back for what they know is good, and we all prosper. And it's a medicinal plant. It is a medicinal plant. And I think sometimes we forget that. I think people think about, oh, I'm just going to get high. But we've had stories of people come in and say, Ari, tell that story. She had a head injury.
Oh, yes, this woman had a really bad traumatic
Traumatic brain injury.
brain
Mhm.
injury, in a car crash, and she lost a section of memory, in her words. And she found this product called Endgame cookies. And she said when she smoked that product, her memory came back. Like
Wow.
endless stories like that you almost don't believe it when you hear it, because it just sounds like magic, because that's what this plant
Right.
is.
It's medicine.
The benefits are just incredible. I use it more for pain and inflammation, but yeah, there's multiple stories like that,
I'm very,
including your story.
yeah.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think, people don't understand is that this plant has been around for 5,000 years, that we know of. And in that time period, no one has died from an overdose, except for somebody who may have been, there's been one case that has been associated with cannabis that we're not even sure it should have been associated with cannabis. But out of 5,000
And
years, come
our
on.
bodies have
It's
receptors. Why would our bodies not have receptors if
correct.
this wasn't something that we could or should ingest or have, for us, that our bodies know what to do with it? So I think innately we're really meant to have this as a medicine.
Absolutely. But I think, it's weird because, Big Pharma, I don't know if you saw this last week, the Big Pharma bought out another pharmaceutical company that was working on some gut issue, cannabis related product. And Pfizer bought a company for about $6.7 billion.
Oh,
That's cannabis related. So Big Pharma's
Of
already getting
course, yeah.
into this now. And they are going to, at some point in time, impact the entire process, though I think that the legacy community and the gray market's going to always be there, just the same way it is there right now, even in Massachusetts and other places around the country that
Right,
have a
right.
legal market.
yeah. Can I step back for a moment? You'd asked a
Sure,
question about how we see the industry going. And
absolutely.
I wanted to add that, and I've said this like from the beginning, is that what's going to make a retail store stand out? Why do I go to your store versus someone else's store? And to me, it's about who you are. For example, who we are and what we represent in the community. Our alliances with people like you, Freshly Baked, All Chocolates, and others, where you can only get these particular items at this store. And, once again, how that store looks and our whole story. And what I think more than anything, I think people need to be educated on the actual plant. So right now it feels like there's a lot of talk about how much THC is in a plant versus the actual quality of the actual plant. Like, I think it would be sun grown and organic because, I'm on the Environmental Justice Advisory Chair of Massachusetts. And they're talking about the carbon footprint of all these inside grows. It's huge. Legislation
Absolutely.
might be passed on these things in nature, of saying like they might start to push towards outside grows or, from the solar to this to that. But it's going to come down to that full cannabinoid profile of a plant. What type of high? Because, there are those that are just want to get stoned out of their brains, and there's those that will enjoy the plant. And that's the way I see it going, learning, teaching, educating people on these.
But again, that's part of the education process missing within
Yep.
our own community.
Yes.
Because people out here who don't even understand that it doesn't matter what that percentage number is. Once you get above 14 or 15% of THC in that plant, your body only can absorb but so much.
Yes.
And it absorbs so much at a single time. And so, I think what we're doing is that we're overstating the value of the euphoria and not overstating the value of the medicinal viability of this plant. But then when you say medicinal, then all of a sudden you just jump into big pharma land. So I think that, this should be a nutraceutical rather than a pharmaceutical, and should be considered the same way that we consider vitamin C or echinacea.
Yeah.
You don't need, or you don't really don't, or we sell CoQ10, which is a
Supplement. Yeah.
a supplement that literally is as powerful when you talk about its interaction within the human body as cannabis is. But, we've got this false narrative of why cannabis shouldn't be made legal that's been there for about now 100 years. And, it's going to take, the legislators that are in position right now to die off or quit or get out of office before we actually make some real solid headway.
And you're talking at the federal level. You're talking
to the
and the
federal
state
level and the state level. I mean, the reason why you have some of these stupid laws at the state level, some of the draconian laws at the state level, is because you got people who don't know what they're
making the
talking
rules.
about. Acting
Yeah.
correct. And until we start getting some people in there that have some experience and they'll understand it, doing some studying, listening, the fact that, we got several universities across the country that you just said your community college, but, from George Washington University to University of Maryland to, Harvard to a lot of, until we start getting more and more of those universities on board to dispense information about the endocannabinoid system, dispense information about how it's antagonized by plant-based cannabis to help us produce more of our own, endogenous cannabinoids to help work on our cellular homeostasis. Until things like that start hitting the mainstream, I think this is going to be an uphill battle for a while. This is for me.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right.
Although people are, not everybody needs so much information. If they come in and they get a product, well, again, I guess it does go back to that. I take that back. Like my bud tenders will, if somebody comes in for a consult, and I don't call them bud tenders, I call them concierges. Actually, if my concierge recommends a product, if someone really feels like this concierge understands them and understands the product, how it all works sometimes doesn't matter, but if it works and when it works, they come back. And now they start the second time around. They're like, hey, that worked. Why did that work? And then you start opening up the doors to why did that work? How can we talk about that? I love to talk about high THC and terpenes as spaghetti sauce. And I say that the high THC content is like your base tomato sauce, but the terpenes are all the spices that you put in it. You put a bay leaf and you put some pepper and you put some salt and you put some garlic, and all those things really give this more entourage effect of that spaghetti sauce tasting delicious. right? Yeah, however much spaghetti sauce you want to put on top, fine. That's the THC, but it's those special spicy ingredients, those terpenes that you add to it that are going to really do that create homeostasis in a different way, bind to different receptors, creating different effects, and that's
but just the conversation about terpenes is something that the majority of people don't even understand. We've been studying terpenes for now 40, 50 years. It's nothing new. Terpenes exist in every plant that's on the planet. And it's because it's a cell, it has its own unique capabilities, has its own unique mm, responses within the body. And I think that, from my perspective, I think that that's something that people need to start understanding when they walk in the door. Of course, we have, again, most people in the world don't even know that it's because of us, the United States of America, you know, in the early 60s and mid 60s and late 60s, we tried to grow all these secondary cannabinoids out of the plant. We tried to see if we could reduce the terpenes and tried our best to push the THC as high as we possibly could. That's the reason why we are so fixated on this these days. But now it's time to get into the reality of real time. It's 2023. It's not 1968 anymore. And now we start to look at, I mean, you ask anybody who's a legacy user who's been around for a long time. I talk to people all the time who remember using cannabis in the 1960s, late 60s, early 70s. And some will tell you that they can't remember ever, or they can't find a product today that ever got them as high as the products of yesterday. Now that's really funny because the products of yesterday didn't have more than 12 or 13 or 14% THC.
right. Why is that?
So why do we need to have 27, 28% THC and don't even understand that that 28 and 29% THC isn't even going to get into your system? It is eventually, but your endocannabinoid system can only receive but so much. Your CB1 connectors are only are only going receptors are only going to receive so much THC at the same time. Though it may get inundated, once it gets inundated, it literally pushes back on absorption until it's ready to have more. So the bigger number doesn't make any sense. But most people don't understand that. They won't take the time to think about that. And, again, it's not just the terpenes, it's the flavonoids now. We're starting to see research coming out of Australia, research coming around the world that talks about the fact that, it's the flavonoids and some of the other minor cannabinoids that we haven't even identified. Most people think about THC and CBD, but there are so many. I mean, the research that's out there right now on the acid version of all the cannabinoids. There's research that people need to understand. Because we do know that THCA, CBDA have its own place. And THCA won't make you high unless you heat it up. However, it will give you the same medicinal benefits if you consume it. You eat it. Well, really? You know, and I think people need to start, I mean, at the dispensary level, where it's just the contact with the public. I think that's where we really need to do a better job of educating not just the people employed there, but the people who walk in the door. And even if they walk in the door saying, "Well, I just want to do this," I say, "Well, let me let you do that, but before you do, let me explain to you this." You can't buy. If I won't sell it to you until I've talked to you, you're gonna have to stand there and
Yeah.
listen, right? And it might piss people off. Okay, so maybe they go down the street and go to, but they'll only go down the street for an inferior product for so long.
That's right.
Again, one more time, throw out the your digits. Where can people go if they want more information?
DivineBerkshires.com. Follow us on Instagram, Divine Berkshires.
DivineBerkshires.com.
You have your own website too
Yep.
with all the information up there.
Yep.
Product section. It's great. And if I had to say, what do you think is next for you in Divine? What time?
Divine Berkshires.
Divine.
Berkshires.
Yeah, Divine Berkshires. What's next for you in Divine Berkshires?
I'll let you
continuing to really feed our staff, feed our community, really get a hold of this little shop that we've got going on, and really we hope that this shop's going to allow us to really actually do other things, step out into the community a little bit more, and really allow us to, he can speak about what he's doing in Berkshires and different community organizations. But I don't know, Ari, you go.
Yeah, okay. So building on what Montel just said, we plan to educate and grow. So what we just discussed, that's what we could plan on continuing to do. Will we look at possible other locations? Yes, we will. I've found this to be incredible because ever since this started and going through COVID, I'm vice president of an organization called Berkshires, and it's the same thing. This is a Black community-owned platform. Where we are highlighting Black businesses, teaching Black members in the community how to own a business, finding them all the tools to get into business, affordable housing, you name it. So that's what Berkshires is all about. I'm friends of Smiley's Pond, which is all environmental conservation. It's like a one-man show. It's me. I got created this nickname of the Turtle Man. Still not used to that. But I'm the Environmental Justice Advisory Committee appointed by the governor of Massachusetts. Once again, more environmental work, because to me, it's all the same. If you can't protect the planet, right, and the
Right.
place that we grow this weed on, if we don't protect it, we have nothing. And I feel it's the same amount of effort we need to put into protecting each other as people. That is, to me, what it's all about. It's what Divine's about. It's what we've created at Divine. I'm also Berkshire Environmental Action Team. I sit on that board, once again, fighting for the environment. Every little piece of what we do, to me, it's all one big picture, from a personal trainer to a chiropractor to wellness to what you're putting into your body. And the bottom line is, how do we make other people's lives better? And we're all about that. We did not open up this shop like, oh boy, we're going to be rich and drive Beamers and have beautiful houses. We saw this as, how can we do this and help the community while we do this and change people's lives, employ people, get them their certificates, get into the business, help change the playing ground of all this systemic racism. Sorry, I have to go back to that, but it's just the reality in our country. So
It's the
it's
truth.
true. I mean, I gotta say it. Some people don't want to hear it, but that's what this is about to me. It's this journey of my life and my wife's life, and here it's led to here now and this moment, and we're going with it, and we're all about it.
Gotcha.
And that's what this is about to me.
So if I'm flying into Mass next month, where's the address?
71
Where do I
Main
go?
Street, South Egremont, Mass.
Okay, and I can look you up on your website.
DivineBerkshires.com.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much. Thanks,
Montel.
guys, for being a part of the show today. I'd love to have you back sometime. Let me know how you're doing. Keep me posted on what's happening in your area. And, maybe one of these times when I come up to Mass, because I come up and do dispensary visits all the time, I'll drop by and see you. I don't know if you guys are carrying my product, but if you're
Of course
not,
we
I'll
are.
make sure
We're
that
big
next time
fans,
we see
Montel. Thank you.
Okay. There you go.
Hey,
Thank you.
I
Okay.
gotta say this, brother. I am so you're a stand-up guy. I remember watching you as a little kid. I was young. I'm like, who is this? There's a Black man on TV doing
Yeah.
a show. I was taken back. Like, who is he? How did he do this? And then I remember how they tried to take you down with Cannabis.
Yeah.
I remember this like very clearly.
Yeah.
Like, why are they treating this man this way? You are a stand-up guy. When you came to the shop, I had some nervousness about who was going to be walking through that door. Said, "Oh no, he's Hollywood." I'm like, "Oh my God, we didn't get what type of water does he drink?" Oh no, you're just a down-to-earth guy who has a big heart, and I really appreciate that. It was really great to get to meet you, and I hope we do more in the future. And thanks for coming out doing that pop-up. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. As we introduce more products in the marketplace and we get more to you, I'll come back up and do more pop-ups, because I think, like you see, to me, it's important that your consumers get an opportunity to hear from the horse's mouth. I want them to understand why I created a product, what I think it can do for them, what I think that the value of it is. And I want them to understand that, we're not just out here trying to take advantage of people. We're trying to make people's lives better.
Absolutely.
Like you said.
Yeah, right on.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Again, we'd love to have you back. So let's stay in touch, and let's
Thank
see
you
if we
so
can work
much,
that out.
Montel.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Divine Berkshires. Make sure you check it out if you go into the Mass area. Make sure you also continue to check out Let's Be Blunt with Montel. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments.